Thanks for joining us now, Indiana's freshman senator, Mike Braun. I don't know. Eamon ended there. I was going to go and talk more about China. You're from Indiana. You used to run one of the big turkey farms out there in the Midwest, so you probably have you know how farmers are feeling at this point, and whether there's any, whether there's wavering support, because it has gone on longer than I think most farmers would have wanted by now. I'm talking about China trade.
Of course, the Chinese were smart when they hit back at farmers, probably Trump's strongest political group. And all I can tell you, in the farm economy, the issues go much deeper than tariffs. And you can see now, I think the strategy's working. I knew all along they were a lot more dependent on us than we on them. And I think that's playing out with what we see in their economy. I think you see now they're talking about importing some pork, soybeans. That dynamic's going to go on for a long time. They're in it for the long game, and I sense they've got more patience and maybe attention to whatever that long-term strategy is. So I think we're coming out of those effects in the farm economy with chronically low prices, high input prices. 20 years ago, I got involved a lot earlier than that. You didn't have huge corporations controlling the dynamic of where you buy your stuff. Things need to change. We need to find new markets. I think it's healthy what we're doing with China.
Well, even and you know, auto parts is in your background as well, and you throw the GM strike along with what's happening with trade, and that's tough too. If you were still selling auto parts, would you be 100% behind these?
All I can tell you is my business. 3 of my 4 kids run it with a great young executive team. Gives me the peace of mind to do this. We're having the best stretch of business we've ever had as a company.
Good.
We decided many years ago not to move the supply chain to China through the manufacturers we do business with. Never did have a warm and fuzzy feeling with them. So anybody that was aggressive with their supply chain, allured by that huge market, I think this is a great wake-up call to kind of hedge your bets, get some eggs out of that basket.
Senator, just looking back to what the Chinese have said at this point, or what we thought they've said at this point, is that they will buy additional agricultural purchases. We haven't seen that yet. You think that that's really coming from them?
It doesn't surprise me. I think they're kind of rope-a-dope the situation all the way into the election in November of 2020. They're in it for the long game. They've got a political system that's going to be able to kind of hold firm. I think that'll be their undoing in the long run, is their political system. They've obviously learned capitalism well as state capitalists. They are our focus.
You think they're trying to wait out the election?
I think that, why wouldn't they? I mean,
because it could be Elizabeth Warren, who'd be worse than Trump.
Well, I think they'll find a way, because I think they're a culture and a country, and they got a political system that enables them to do it in the short run, in the midterm. In the long run, I think they'll have to take a different posture to weave into the world economy by liberalizing their political system. Then they become a reserve currency. Then all of a sudden, all the chickens come home to roost for us, because we can't keep running trillion-dollar deficits at low cost. So there's a lot involved there.
What do we use before Foreman Ali for rope-a-dope? What was the? I mean, that is a great expression, and it's exactly what people do. It's like, I'm just going to bide time and not really do it. But I just wonder what we used before. I'm glad they had that fight, right?
No, I guess that created a new
it did, because we had nothing. I don't think before that at this point. Do you think the phase one that we had? I mean, was that? Is it a real deal? Is it? I mean, I saw anecdotal evidence that some Republicans met with the president and said, "Look, there is, you know, the economy is what you're running for re-election on, and let's not forget that, and it's not that far away. So we need to get something done here. You don't want to cut off your nose to spite your face here. Do you think phase one is a real agreement that leads to something, or was it patchwork just to be able to show something for it?
First of all, let's go to the context. The economy has never been hotter from a Main Street point of view. I know when all that stuff happened, I was most concerned. If you remember, Senator Ron Johnson spoke up for LLCs and sub-S's. That's where all the action is. C Corps house a ton of jobs. Their nominal rate was 35. Their effective rate was only 18. That tells you what's wrong with D.C. in the first place. Most of us don't have that legion of attorneys that will get you that kind of benefit in the tax code. When that rate for LLCs went from 39.6 to 29.6, that unleashed something, and it's not a sugar high. It's out there working. That was the biggest, and I'm a finance guy, the biggest financial thing that happened to Main Street USA was when that tax code adjustment was made. Yeah. Sadly, that has to be reset in 2025. And when you take a rate down to 21, and I ask, well, what's the effective rate now? They didn't need much help there because it's 16. That is driving this economy, and I think when it comes to trade, we're a lot less dependent on it than many other players.
Right.
We need to use that position of strength because most people depend on us. That's why the USMCA, the trade agreements we're doing bilaterally, Trump was right there. The whole requests that Trump made of having others help pay for world defense, that made sense. That resonated with all of us in the real world.
Right.
And I think it's right on course.
So Romney's threatening there's some people saying there's a 20% chance that there could be some Republicans that waver. Do you think more would have to happen? What do you think it is?
Well, I'm going to be honest. A lot of this stuff, the agenda has been so good, but needless to say, it hasn't been dull since I've been there.
Yeah, right.
But when I've got to pay that close attention to media, that means maybe some other stuff needs to quiet down.
Okay.
Because if we go with the agenda, we're going to win.
Has French Lick been updated recently?
Has what?
French Lick, the resort, been updated in Indiana. Have you tried to get the president to bring the G7 to French, or any other ideas? Not to row.
Because if I did, they'd blast me if I decide to run again.
I don't think French Lick's been updated in a while. I used to go when I was a kid. Has it?
French Lick is the gem of the Midwest.
That's why I said it. That's
so. There's a family and a
so
business.
You're selling it. You think that
mildly.
Okay, all right. I put in my 2 cents as well. Probably be Camp David, I think, maybe.
Probably will be, but that's an example of where we didn't need that.
We didn't need.
I talked to the president. It was about a week ago on Friday, because a lot of stuff was starting to rise to the surface, and said, "Hey, I just completed all 92 counties in a little under 10 months, which was a pledge I do. Most senators aren't moving that quickly out there, I can tell you. That's how I keep grounded." They are with him. They also want to make sure that the good things can be talked about, because the other side could not have dealt us a kind of crazier platter of stuff to talk about, none of which will work. And one quick statement on wealth tax and all that.
Yes.
I've been one of the few senators to see if there's room to raise revenue. And the only place you could look is on high liquid incomes. And if you tax, I think, 100% of the income above $1 million on ordinary income, raises $600 billion. Our deficits are $1 trillion, soon to go to $1.5 trillion. I'm trying to get the CBO to admit that it's revenue neutral. We're generating more revenues than ever, but our spending due to Medicare and Social Security and Medicaid is going up 4 to 5% a year. So it's unsustainable.
All right, Senator, it's great to have you on set.
Thanks for having me.